What if you were to listen to an internationally acclaimed, multi-award-winning illusionist, and he had something far more to say than, "Watch this trick"? Rick Thomas is that performer, ready to go far beyond his magic and far beyond your imagination as he shares secrets regarding our dreams. Dreams that can become reality. The future belongs to those who believe in the strength of their dreams. Dreams pass into the reality of action. From the action stems the dream again. And this interdependence produces the highest form of living. Join Rick and his co-host, award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo, for Nothing Happens Until You Dream. Indulge your mind and take a journey never to be forgotten. A journey connecting all of our dreams as we chase them together.
Rick, we've made it to December. Ta-da.
And we couldn't have done it once again without you.
Oh, come on.
I would have faltered weeks ago.
I doubt that. I don't think you've ever faltered that you haven't unfaltered, so I'm not going to buy it.
I beat myself up. I don't like to fail.
I know. Who
does?
That's
for sure. I know, and it is a frustration. And we got to remember that failing is awesome. Believe it or not, because
it is.
It's telling the world that you're trying.
Yeah, you can't try without some failures. Yeah. It's just normal. And you learn by the failures. You know, every time I've totally messed something up, I go, okay, why did that mess up? Oh, okay, I won't do that again. You know, there is something good in failing as long as you're able to pick yourself up and keep going. It's the people that stay on the floor where it's not a good thing. But you're not like that. I'm not like that.
Nope. Pick yourself up and give it at least one more try.
Yeah. So what's December for you?
We are finishing actually our Christmas show, and I am thrilled to say that not only is it going extremely well, I am honored to be standing on the stage with the stars, performers that are on the stage. In fact, if you don't mind, I'd like to say just a few things about the Christmas show.
Yes.
So the world can kind of grasp what I think we're really missing, and that is looking a bit towards the past. I know that you can't change the past. I know the past is the past, and we should always pursue and look to the future. But I'm performing with two groups, the Cowsills, and they are a family of singers. That's the Cowsills, and the Lettermen. And they are in the show with myself, of course, my wife Tara, and we star as the illusionists in the show and our amazing dancers. And I stand on the side of the stage and I watch the Cowsills perform. And then I go out and scream and yell and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Cowsills," and get the audience to applaud. In fact, I don't have to get them to applaud. The audience is going hysterical. They love them.
Of course.
It's their age group. Yes, we have an aging audience in Branson. We have a lot of young people as well, and we're thrilled for these new generations coming into Branson and embracing it. But the Cowsills are in their early 70s. The daughter, Susan, she is actually in her 60s. But they sing music that when you hear it, when you and I hear it, we say to ourselves, oh my goodness, I remember those songs, or I'd heard those songs before. And they were actually the generation right before us, the 60s and early 70s, that these songs were famous. And I think of the youth today, and I myself think back and go, man, there's so many amazing things that have happened, so many wonderful people that have brought things to the table and have performed, introduced, or done whatever to make our lives great. We enjoy our lives today because of the dreams that people had before us. They had those dreams of freedom, dreams of invention, and dreams that are now a reality. And without those people, you would not be enjoying what you have today.
True.
So when I watched them sing their songs, and by the way, the Cowsills had 3 number 1 hits, okay? Not just hits, 3 number 1 hits and many Billboard hits and 10 multi-million albums. And you'll say, the Cowsills what?
Not me.
Their most famous song is Hair. And I hope that somebody goes online and types in the Cowsills and then types in Hair and then listens online. Oh, how simple life is now to go online and just type words in
kidding,
and
right?
And get everything you need without having to go to the library. And that's another story if you want to cover that one. But that's libraries, and most youth saying, what's a library?
Oh, ouch.
So I watch these people and I just realize that time goes on and things are forgotten. And I think of also the many, many shows that I have presented and performed in the thousands that I am so proud of, that I gave my whole life to, that I know was an inspiration to people who watched them, but it doesn't exist unless somebody can find it on YouTube or on a TikTok. I know life goes on, but I'm just hoping that in this conversation that people be a little bit more melancholy. We are going into the holiday season. That means the youth, look towards your parents. Mm-hmm. Ask your parents what they listened to. Ask them what their lives were like, they and your grandparents.
Mm-hmm. I would give anything to sit down with my grandmother because she became unable to really remember a lot of things right about the time I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And I would give anything now to sit down and ask her those questions. Because I asked her a few as I grew up because I was a pretty curious kid. And our family is from Germany, so I wanted to know all about Germany. But boy, as an adult, there's so many things I want to ask her. And I can't. So you're right. Talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents if they're here, and ask them. Tell me about your life. Tell me about the things you did and the music you listened to, and then listen together.
In the history of the world, there's only a few of us who make it to history books.
Yes.
The rest don't literally exist, as if they never existed. Perfect example is I asked my father years ago, he too has passed on, and I asked him to tell me about snow because he grew up in Pocatello, Idaho.
Oh my gosh.
And of course it snows there. Really? Pocatello?
Yes.
He went to a place called Pokey High. That's what they called it.
Oh my goodness.
And then later in life, when he was 20 years old, he went to Broadway and moved to New York to be on Broadway. He was in dance and tap danced. And so my whole family's life was kind of in the entertainment industry. But I asked him about snow because I'd never seen it. I grew up in Long Beach, California. I never really got to see what my dad saw with snow. And so I just had him share with me the story. Now, the fascinating thing about it is I've actually taken that story and placed it in my holiday performance. And I tell the audience about snow, and I tell them about my son, Brandon, and how for many years I didn't take him to see snow, and I should have. And then I caused the entire theater to snow.
Oh, you don't.
And so, yes.
Wow.
So it's it's exciting to share the stories, and it all falls back on the life of my father, who had the privilege and loved telling me about the crazy things he did in snow.
Oh, I got to tell you my snow story, because I grew up in Long Beach, too, same as you. And I'd seen snow on the ground because we'd gone up to Lake Arrowhead to Santa's Village. Remember that?
Okay. That's right.
All right. So I'd seen it on the ground. But it wasn't till I was in, my late 20s, I guess, that we were working out at a club in Jackpot, Nevada, which is about 50 miles south of Boise in Nevada. And there's nothing there except this teeny tiny little town in Cactus Pete's, which is actually a really cool showroom. And we're driving out there, and these things are hitting the windshield. And I'm like, what are these bugs? And the person I was driving with said, Tammy, that's snow. I'd never seen it fall, Rick. I thought we were driving through bugs. I felt very stupid at the moment, but I had never seen it fall.
So when people take it for granted, and people who are now, and they're probably scratching their heads right now, here's two individuals from California talking about snow, and they've lived their whole lives in snow, and they just scratch their heads and go, really? They're talking about snow?
Yeah, right.
And so some people can't comprehend it because they've lived in it their entire life.
Right.
So let me put it in better perspective. What shocks me the most, what blows my mind the most, is people who live, for example, in California, right next to Disneyland, and they have never gone to Disneyland.
I don't know how that's possible, but I know it's true.
And there are people willing to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to go wherever they need to go and travel wherever they need to travel to get to, like Disney or something to that effect, whether it be that or the Grand Canyon or whatever it is. So sometimes these things are right in front of you, and you do not take the opportunity. So for those of you who've lived in snow and scratch your heads and go, really, it's no big deal, and it's a pain in the butt, and you know, whatever they want to say about it, just remember that there are a lot of things that we all live through in our lives that we don't experience that we should, and you're missing out on so many things in life when you do take a step back and go, man, I haven't done this. That's the bucket list, I guess. That's what everybody comes up with. They've got to come up with that. Oh, I've got to do this and I've got to go do that. And
But why put it off? Why put it off forever? That's one thing that I argue with my college students all the time is the lack of curiosity. It's like, why don't you want to know that? Why don't you know that? Why don't you look it up? I threw a name out to them the other day because a very famous person who endowed a lot of the college was coming. He's huge in the entertainment industry, Mike Curb.
Okay.
And in the 60s, there was the Mike Curb congregation. Met him numerous times. And I asked my students, I said, do you know who he is? And they kind of looked at me blankly and they said, no. And I said, do you want to? Yeah. I said, I'm not going to tell you. Turn around, look at your computer. You have 5 minutes to report back.
And how easy it is now to type in his name today and click on Google.
Indeed.
And there it is.
Indeed.
No library, no going there. And how often did you go to the library? I did in my youth. That's how I learned my magic. But until I found that section, I remember going to the cards. Remember going to the card catalog and then trying to find out where your book was.
Yes, indeed. The cards, and then you had to find the aisle, and then you had to find the shelf. Yeah, but we did it. I was at that Dana Library, because I think that's probably the one you went to.
Right down there in Long Beach. Yes.
On Atlantic. It's still there, thank goodness. And pretty much every day after school at Hughes, I would walk over there and I would work on doll books and animal behavior books until my mom came to pick me up, which was about 5:30. So I was spending about a good 2 hours there almost every day.
Well, mine were mystery books.
Uh-huh.
And magic books.
Of course.
So that was my thing. But I was really into the mystery books. And gosh, I can't even remember the names of the different books. But there were series of these books that I would constantly read. They're amazing then, but today, I think, the Drew
Nancy
Boys
Drew.
or something.
Nancy Drew
books.
and the Hardy Boys.
And the Hardy Boys. There you go.
See? Boy, I don't know where those came from. They were in the back of my brain.
Okay. I just needed to thank you for helping me
Anytime. I love spook books. I loved haunted stories. If I wasn't researching, I liked books about supernatural things. That was interesting to me. And, I didn't just read them there. I trucked 2 or 3 of them home, all the time. So the library was fun. I found things I didn't know existed there. It was really great.
Well, I'm actually glad that we were able to talk a little bit in this podcast about something other than tigers, this specific one. We are going to talk about the tigers because there's something important I want to share and that people need to understand about the different types of tigers.
Right.
I think you'll be enthralled. I think you're going to find this intriguing and you're going to learn something from it and go away slightly more educated. But remember, again, I pointed out that we enjoy our lives today truly because of what people did in the past. They followed their dreams. They created amazing, wonderful things that we enjoy today. And I just can't thank those of the past that have done what they did to give us what we have. So do that. I know that that's what Thanksgiving is all about and what we've enjoyed recently, but it should be year long. And look to the past. Go look up the Cowsills. See who they are. The Lettermen are also in the show, and they've just received their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes. Finally. Catch up, you guys, Hall of Fame. Come on. You're missing a few dozen people, I'm saying. I've got to give you one quote that somebody told me once. Because when you listen to the Cowsills and when you listen to the Letterman, when you're off stage listening, do you remember things? Does it take you back?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That music is the strongest. It brings back memories better than anything. It brings back a great part of their life.
Here's one of the best quotes I've ever heard. This came from Paul Revere. Paul Revere and the Raiders.
And the Raiders.
Yes. Paul and I were talking. He and I were very good friends. And I was doing kind of a little quasi-interview with him because I like to interview everybody and get stuff on tape. And I said, what's it like, Paul, to be in the music business all these years? And he said, I'm not in the music business anymore, Tammy. I'm like, wait a minute. You're here doing a show. He said, Tammy, I'm in the memory business. It said it all to me.
Yes.
Because that's what Paul now did. Yes, he's in the music business. He was still performing. He's left us, unfortunately. He was still performing, doing all those great Raider hits and being as crazy on stage as he ever was. But he was bringing everybody back to high school, sock hops, and he was in the memory business, and he understood that so very well. And that just said it all.
When I stand on the side of the stage and peek through the curtain, as I do, I get to look at the audience. And there are many audience members who are in their 60s and who are in their 70s. And when the Cowsills are singing, I sit on the side of the stage. I laugh, but I laugh in wonder. I laugh in joy. Their hands raise into the air. Their mouths move. They say every single word. They're singing along with them. They're clapping.
I love
and
it.
They're cheering. They're cheering like they cheered when they were teenagers.
Yes.
And when the castle's in their number, I run out on the stage and I don't have to say a word. The audience is just roaring. So those are fun things to see because you just watch it happen. It's a miracle.
I got to tell you this. You'll love this, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, when they're out on stage, the Cowsills are in their 20s again, too. We did a show with Bill Haley's Comets because Bill left us a long time ago. And they were about to go on stage, and we're backstage. This is Ohio Express. And here are these men in their 80s, okay? And they're kind of shaky, okay? They're men in their 80s, and we're thinking, oh, my goodness, how is this going to go? I will tell you that these men kind of bent over, walking slowly, were waiting at the curtain line. They go out on stage, Rick. They run out on stage. And for the next 15 minutes, they are spinning the bass and jumping up and down and da-da-da-da-da. And we're thinking, whoa, what happened? Fountain of Youth. And they turn around and come back off stage after they get their applause. And they go back to 80-year-old men. I swear, if you hadn't looked close, they were 20 years old again. It was beautiful. It was amazing. So the Cowsills and the Letterman are back in their 20s, too. It's not just the audience.
So I'm enjoying the Christmas show. It's beautiful, and we're keeping ourselves busy through the holiday season, and I'm just glad that I'm part of the magic.
I'm jealous. I'm just jealous. I want to get out there and see what you see. Well, today we're talking about Chapter 17, The Truth About White Tigers. This is a fascinating chapter because most people don't know there's something called a Liger. Now, I've seen some Ligers, and they're beautiful in their own way, but Ligers?
They're a tiger and a lion that have mated, and here's the point of why I brought up Ligers to start that chapter, is that Ligers are man-made.
Yeah.
Tigers and lions in the wild wouldn't let this happen.
Yeah.
There would be a separation, and they would not mate. So humans have stepped in, and they've created Ligers. And someone may think, oh, yeah, but have you seen a Liger? Yes, they are huge. They are beautiful. They are unique.
Yeah.
But they're still man-made.
Yes.
And my question is how far do you go in this world getting involved with and changing what comes naturally?
That is a baited question, Rick, because I think you and I kind of have the same opinion, not very far.
We have the same opinion on it, but at the same time, I enjoyed extensively the opportunity to have white tigers in my life. And I think the best way to put it is this. Tigers are on the endangered species list.
Yes.
Okay, there's only a few thousand of them left. In fact, if we don't do something more than we are, they can become extinct, as many of these creatures are becoming. Tigers are worth upwards of $100,000 a piece dead.
That makes me sick. And let's explain why they're worth that. We talked about that in an earlier chapter, but in case somebody missed it.
Because there are humans, civilizations, civilization, can you call them civil?
Quote unquote.
There are humans out there who believe that there are parts of the tiger that do many fascinating and amazing things for them in the health industry, physically, mentally, their stability, and it comes from parts of the tiger. And for that reason, the poachers are out there. They themselves usually aren't the ones that are utilizing the tigers. There's poachers out there because they're paid a salary that would pay somebody a year's salary just by getting one tiger and then turning it over to those that want to utilize those tigers in many ways. It's out there, and there's a market for it. So we desperately are trying to stop that from occurring, and that's why the tigers are in reserves. But even the reserves, they have armed guards there constantly trying to protect these animals because people infiltrate and still take these beautiful animals down. I personally believe that the tiger is the most exquisite animal on the face of the earth. It's just a beautiful creature. Now, that's the orange tiger. Now, white tigers are absolutely stunning. And yes, they're beautiful on stage because being all white when the lights are on these animals, they're just vibrant. But if you look at a tiger and you look at the stripes and you look at the orange and the black and the stripes and just the magnificence of that animal, it's a perfect animal. So let me tell you briefly why I wrote this chapter. One is there are many people that scream and yell, set the tigers free.
Yes. There are.
And we understand that tigers are in captivity. We can't stop people from taking their lives.
No,
so
it's impossible.
It's a vicious circle. So captivity is critical for the salvation of these animals. If countries like the U.S. didn't step in as they did, and the United States was 50, 60 years ago, and create a breeding program, there'd be no tigers. They began saving the tigers, and for that reason, we should appreciate the tigers that are in captivity, even though there are those that abuse that power. We are not perfect. Sometimes when we are given the opportunity to take care of things, we don't do as well as we should. And I understand that. But there are some out there that are truly doing their best and giving it all they've got to take care of and protect these endangered species.
I am right now looking at chapter 17 on my screen here, and on the first page of it, you have a beautiful picture of you in Chaos, who is a white tiger with beautiful blue eyes. And then you have a picture of you and Samantha, who is an absolutely stunning orange tiger with these beautiful glowing orange-brown eyes. And they're both, well...
I know. They're good. You have to see it. You have to see the book. You have to see the pictures.
They take your breath away. I've been lucky enough to see tigers like this in person. You've got to, at some point, see a tiger in person to just understand, because these pictures are gorgeous. In person, they're even prettier. They're even more stunning. They are such incredible cats. God.
I'll say, so where do you think the white tiger came from? And knowing that it's a loaded question, I'm about to tell them. Many people say Siberia.
Of course.
Because they know that they're Siberian tigers. And they think that because it's in Siberia, which happens to be a place with a lot of snow. That the tigers are snow white tigers.
Right.
Thus, they come from Siberia.
Right.
But the orange tiger actually comes from Siberia. Let's look at the orange tiger first. If you want to go online while we're talking about this, somebody's next to their computer. It's easy enough to go online and type in tiger and look at photos and look at a photo of a tiger. And you're going to see that an orange tiger is all of them, okay? Not some of them, all of them. The orange tigers are orange on the top half of their body, and they're white on the bottom half of their body,
on the underside,
with black stripes going through it. Look at the orange tiger, even in the picture you have with Samantha.
Yeah, you can see her chest
Samantha's
is white.
Orange on the top and white on the bottom. So all orange tigers have white in them, but they're an orange Bengal tiger.
Right.
They are the endangered species, and there's where the catch is. When I say to people, what do you think about the white tiger and it being an endangered species? The answer back is they are not an endangered species. The white tiger never is and never will be probably an endangered species because why, Tammy?
They don't exist.
They do not exist. Why don't they exist?
Because we make them.
Man-made white tigers.
Right. We make them. We make lots of animals, Rick. I mean, if you look at it, I watched the Westminster Dog Show on Thanksgiving Day. And they were talking about breed standard, because that's
right.
How they judge.
And how many real true breeds still?
Yeah,
that's hard because they've
messed them up. But they were talking about the dogs with the short noses, and they were talking about the fact that these dogs are bred. Breed standard is the shortest nose you can get. So they breed short nose to get a shorter nose, to get a shorter nose. And I'm like, stop, because you're giving the dog sinus problems.
Oh, goodness.
Because they don't have a sinus anymore. It's true. People do this to create what they want to create. And it makes me crazy sometimes. If it's not to the detriment of the animal, I'm fine with it, I guess. But
this is a hard topic.
It is.
Because I had the white tigers in the show.
Yeah.
And they are stunning. And I just absolutely fell in love with these creatures.
But they're perfectly
they are definitely
healthy.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with
They are
them.
now. They are now.
Ah, okay.
They weren't.
Ooh,
See,
take me back.
I'll take you way back. So man created the white tiger.
Okay.
As far as science goes, they can't be an endangered species because they weren't a natural species. So for that reason, just the orange tiger is.
Okay.
And I agree that the white tiger is beautiful, and people believe it's crazy. How can that happen? From my understanding, and I'm going to give you the best understanding that I have of it, the first mating program was born out of a captured, well, I guess you can use the word mutant, but it was a captured white cub, meaning a cub that had more white in it than orange and white. So it was an orange tiger with a fair amount of white in it that made it a mutant, mutated far more than other cubs. And that was obtained by the Maharaja of, I believe it's Rewa, R-E-W-A, who named it Muhan. Okay, or Mohan, M-O-H-A-N. So if I get the word slightly wrong, I apologize there, but I'm giving you the stats the best way I know. This cub, when he finally grew up, was mated with other orange tigers. Okay, now, every time a tiger was born, even though that tiger was more so white and it was mated with orange tigers, what color cubs did they have?
Still orange.
All orange. All orange tigers. The reason is the white gene is a recessive gene. So no white tigers could be created because there was no recessive gene passed on because of the mating of the white tiger with the orange tiger. So out of desperation, they eventually mated Mohan to one of his daughters.
Oh, ouch.
And that's when the first litter of white tigers were born.
Because the two recessive genes.
Now you had two recessive genes.
Oh.
And the four that were born were Raja, Mohini, Sukishi, and Rani. And those were the first white tigers born in captivity and the first of what would become a white tiger breeding program. Now, also, if I have a scratchy voice today and you hear that my voice is kind of going out, it's because I'm doing a lot of shows.
Yeah, I understand that one.
I'm doing a lot of shows and I talk a lot. I'm emceeing the Christmas show and I talk all through my show and I give it all I've got. So I'm very grateful that you're listening to this podcast, even though my voice is a bit scratchy.
It sounds fine. Sounds fine.
So anyway, there was a lot of inbreeding going on to begin the genetics that needed to create white tigers. But finally what changed was when a pure white tiger was born and then it was mated to an orange tiger, you would get orange tigers. However, listen carefully, those orange tigers would have a recessive gene in them. They'd have a white gene in them. So even though the tigers were now born by a white tiger and an orange tiger, they were orange, they carried a white recessive gene. So when that orange tiger grew up and that orange tiger was mated to a white tiger and they both had the recessive gene, how many out of 4 cubs would be white? One.
Yeah, I would say one, right.
There's a recessive. I'm sorry, I'm doing science now.
No, I remember this stuff. So you'd have one.
Okay, but you also started breeding strong tigers. Then you could take that white tiger and mate it with another white tiger and so on and separate the breed. In fact, the USDA requires us to tell them, our breeding tigers, who they are, who their parents are, who their grandparents are.
Wow.
And the reason is they're very concerned about any possibility of inbreeding.
Right.
And that the distance of the relationship is far enough that you're not going to have that effect.
Because inbreeding causes all kinds of health problems.
Horrid. And we agree with that and we understand.
Yeah.
So yes, the white tiger did not have a healthy start. But I can tell you that my white tigers were stunning. They were pure. They had no health issues. They had gone a long enough time period where the breeding process with a strong gene and the lesser gene or the weaker gene were mixed, and you could keep those genes strong. Thus, we have a white tiger program. Now, I'm going to tell you something so you kind of grasp this and understand. For those that still say, well, you shouldn't have white tigers, or no, you shouldn't have tigers at all, or yes, they still need to be put back in the wild. I would agree with you there. But here's our problem now in the wild. I just talked to you about inbreeding. It gets to a point that if we can't stop these poachers from wiping out the tigers, they're going to wipe themselves out first. Why? Because there's so few of them, and they start inbreeding.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else for them to do, to mate with. They're going to destroy themselves. So you need to understand that there's a lot going on, and there are problems out there that need to be discussed and taken care of. And now, with my tigers now in a reserve, and I looking back on my career and my life, I am thrilled to have a better understanding and appreciation for the endangerment of the species, the conservation of the species, and that's any animal. We just lost, I believe, the last white rhino.
Yes, he passed
on.
He passed.
Some couple of years ago, I think it was now.
He did.
And people might say, they might even have forgotten it happened, but it's gone.
He's gone. Yeah, that's it.
Done.
That's it. Here in California, there's a lot of concern about our cougars, our mountain lions, because we've bisected their territory with freeways out in the San Fernando Valley. And they are inbreeding because they can't get to other cats. They're building a wildlife overcrossing out by Agora. It's all private money, so these animals can cross. But they have already seen, because they tag a lot of the cougars, they have already seen genetic mutations starting in the cougar population with the kittens that are being born, the cubs that are being born. And the first manifestation that they've been able to see that's visual is crooked tails. The tails have a kink. And they know the cats well enough to know who the parents are. And it's like, oh, here we go. So trying to get these cats to be able to mingle. But we're constantly losing cats, cougars, trying to cross the freeway because they know what they need to do. But they get hit on the freeway up in Agora, probably about one a month.
And why is that? Humans.
So thank goodness the money's been put up for this wildlife crossing, and they've been done in other places where people are concerned about these issues. And the animals find them, and the animals use them. And that could save our cougars and who knows what else that's in the same predicament. I'm just thankful there are people who are concerned enough to do things like this, because we can't lose these animals. That white rhino, I remember when he passed, Rick. It was so sad. He was the last one. And I know they were trying like crazy to find a way to breed him, and they ran out of time. He got too old. He couldn't do it anymore. Even with assistance from a human, there was nothing. And he's gone now. And that, to me, that is heartbreaking. It really is.
I want people to walk away from this conversation today knowing that I fully well understand how beautiful white tigers are. And everybody has got to admit, whether they like it or not, they are a beautiful animal.
Oh, incredible.
But they are man-made. And man stepped in and they created something beautiful. How they went about it, the challenge that were faced, the mistakes that were made. Humans had to fix the problems, pick up the pieces, and do better, which they did as time moved on. So I try to say this because this is not just with tigers. Everything in my life, I try to figure out how that helps me understand life in general. And sometimes when men step in and the human race decides to do something, it can be beautiful.
Yes.
And sometimes when they step in, it can be ugly.
Or disastrous.
And we need to make sure that we're part of the entire kingdom here on this earth. And the human race, even the human race, faces birth defects and health issues. And nature can be unpredictable.
Very.
And we all have to face it. All walks of life have to face it. Just do your best. Try to make decisions on the things that you are involved in as a human. The things you decide on being part of are worthy of being part of, and something you'll be proud of in your life. Because we can get in the way of many things, and really their words can be used other than mess it up. But there's words, just don't mess it up,
right,
you know.
Exactly.
And we are. I know that we're trying to do what we can with the world that's around us. And in my little world that I lived in, I could see it just within the animal kingdom and white tigers. And so I pass that information on and hope that everybody has a cause. I'm just glad I'm part of trying to save something on Earth.
Yes.
And I hope that everybody else in some way or form does the same thing. You've got to be part of trying to save something. Do what you can. Understand that nobody's perfect, and try to be a little kinder to everybody in so doing, because it's a very touchy subject.
Yep. but we love our animals so much. They need to have a right to exist. I just applaud everybody who's working in these programs to save them and to keep the species going.
When I go to the nature reserves and I watch these people having to take care of these animals and what they need to do to take care of them, it's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
I know the hours that are required of me when I handled my tigers. They were my life.
Yeah.
I lived for them.
Yeah.
I did everything for them, morning, noon, and night, and the exhaustion of just making sure that they were safe, taken care of, fed, exercised, healthy as possibly possible. It's a big deal. And everybody who has an animal can say the same thing.
Yep.
You know, you love the animals and they become part of the family and they are a handful. So anyway, that's what I know.
Wow.
Some of my statistics may be slightly wrong. I might have got a name or two mixed up and or said incorrectly, but you need to understand this was a fluke. The white tiger just kind of came to be and it was embraced and now we have the white tiger to be enjoyed and viewed by millions of people for hopefully many years to come.
Well, you know, everybody's thinking about Christmas right now. And one thing I want to say is before you decide to buy an animal for somebody for Christmas, make sure they want an animal for Christmas because these are not disposable. This is a lifelong commitment and probably the best bet if you want to buy somebody something, an animal for Christmas, get a gift certificate from your local humane or your local shelter and let them go pick the right dog or right cat or right guinea pig for them or give them the option of not selecting an animal. But please, animals as gifts, while there's that moment of, oh, wow, you got me a puppy. Remember, that puppy is a 15 to 20-year commitment in some cases. Make sure you're doing the right thing. If you don't want to get in that jam, there's another great idea for Christmas presents, right, Rick?
Oh, share away, Tammy, because you are well-versed in all of this.
Well, I'm learning. And by the way, you sent me an early Christmas gift of a beautiful coin.
Oh, you got it.
I got it. It is stunning. The thing glows. It lights the room up. It's a beautiful silver coin. And thank you so very much. It's my first coin in my collection. And I don't know that I'm going to put it in the safe. I want to put it somewhere so I can look at it because it's so darned pretty.
Yes, you received a silver eagle coin. In fact, I gave it as a gift. It's a numismatic. Now, let's see, Tammy, if you can tell me now what a numismatic coin is. You have the difference between a bullion and a numismatic, and I sent you a numismatic. What does that mean?
Okay,
you know?
I'm going to take my best guess because I'm not 100% sure. But I'm thinking it's one that's not for circulation.
Right.
Collectible.
It's collectible. The NGC graded the coin. Usually these coins have never been touched by human hands. There aren't any flaws in the coin. They're a perfect coin, and they are embedded in plastic, and they become a collectible. And that is a numismatic, and that's what you have in your hands.
I got to tell you, it is so gorgeous. And you can tell nobody's ever handled it because it is perfect. Not like the coins you might have rattling around in your pocket. But it's a silver coin. It's silver. It's precious metal.
And there's the word. They are precious metals, and they are worth more than the coins you will find in your pocket. The quarters, the dimes, the nickels, these are collectibles. These are coins that you hold on for yourself and your posterity. I remember one of my dear friends when I was sharing with him, first and foremost, about gold and silver and why he needs to buy some. You need to get some no matter what, even if it's just a coin or two. I showed him some coins. And one of those was just like the one I shared with you. And he stopped. And he said, "Can you give me a moment?" And I said, "Sure." And he leaves. And he comes back. And he shows me a numismatic coin. And he says, "I just got this out of a shoebox upstairs in my closet." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "My grandfather gave this to me on my graduation from high school."
Oh, my goodness.
And he says, "I threw it in the shoebox because I thought it was worthless." He says, I had no idea. I had no idea what it meant to my grandfather or what it was truly worth.
Thank God he didn't throw it in
And he
the
had
trash.
tears in his eyes because at that moment he realized that his grandfather had given him something of great worth.
Right.
and that he cared about his grandson and wanted his grandson to be protected as he moved on in his life. And that is to diversify, to get a hold of some precious metals, and to protect your family. And that's what his grandfather did. So it was a very special moment to me. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And so when I gave you that coin as well, that's what I remember. I remember that moment when he shared that coin and he said, my grandfather gave this to me, and I had no idea what it was truly worth. I am so grateful for this coin. I will never let it go.
Well, thank you for my coin, because it is absolutely stunning. It's the first of the coins I'm going to be buying, because I do understand diversification of money, and I do stories on the air all the time about our economy. And Rick, you are very much an expert in this area.
I have the stories. I have the stories to tell.
Knowledge. You have the knowledge. Well, it's definitely something you might think about for Christmas. And Rick, you are making personal phone calls in all your spare time.
In fact, I just got a text while we were doing our conversation. One of those that has fallen in love with gold and silver. He said, give me a call later today. I need some advice. And I said, absolutely. I'll give you a call. So when I get off the podcast, I'll be making a couple calls, and it won't be about magic. It won't be about the holidays. It'll be about gold.
I love that. I love gold. I love gold. I love silver. mansionofdreams.net/wealth. There is a really short form there on the website. You can fill it out, and that will go directly to Rick, and Rick will go directly to the phone and make a call directly to you and answer a lot of questions. And, you're very modest about your knowledge, but your knowledge is pretty vast from talking to you about it myself. So you can get some straight up information.
It wasn't, though.
You've learned.
There were people that stepped into my life and literally laid it at my feet. And there are a lot of people out there that don't want to tell you how they amassed their fortunes and how they've protected their families. I kind of get that, but at the same time, there are those that want to share, and that's what's happened to me. My excitement to share this across the world, and that's with you as well. So go out there today and do something good for somebody else. Be positive in somebody else's life. And I'm going to try to do the same. I got to listen to myself more.
Yeah, we both do. We both do. All right. Again, that website, it's in the show notes. There's a lot of information in the show notes for you to check out, including the link to Amazon so you can get Rick's book, The Tiger Whisker. And that way you can go through it as we're doing the podcast and see all the great pictures, because I know you want to see Chaos and Samantha, two of the tigers that we mentioned today in the show.
Thanks for joining us this week on Nothing Happens Until You Dream, starring Rick Thomas and featuring Tammy Trujillo, and is based on Rick Thomas's best-selling book, The Tiger Whisker, available on rickthomas.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love for you to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out on Patreon for exclusive members-only content. Stay up to date with Rick and Tammy at nothinghappensUntilYouDream.com. Remember, you must follow your dreams, not only for yourself, but for the rest of our future. We'll see you on the next episode.